Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today we are talking about those New Year's resolutions that you never stick to. So don't do New Year's resolutions. Do this instead.
Mike, it's always fun to have guests, but there's something special about when it's just you and me.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
No. That was it. We're not singing.
You know, sometimes I think when I sing, I go, "Oh, I crush that." And then I hear the audio back and I'm like, ooh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
So we're filming this in December. This may go up in December. It may go up in January. Mike, it's that time of the year when people go, look, I've been a naughty boy. I could have been better. I could have done more in 2023.
Yeah.
But 2024 is the year everything changes. Do you think people stick to their New Year's resolutions, Mike?
I mean, it's not a particular part of the year where I'm like, man, I've been a naughty boy. I can be better. I can do more. That's a general theme. But no,
feedback.
Do I think people can stick to their New Year's resolutions? I think generally they don't. I think it's like intrinsic in human nature to, take stock and reassess and try and go, yep, this year I'm going to be a totally different person. I'm going to have this sense of discipline and self-will that up until this point in my life has not been apparent in the slightest, but now's the time I'm going to make a change.
Yeah, and you might be going, why is a money podcast talking about New Year's resolutions? Well, funnily enough, there's probably two main resolutions. One is I'm going to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, exercise twice a day and get a six-pack. Yep. The other is I'm going to get my money sorted.
And because I already have a six-pack, my two New Year's resolutions are, 1, stop hitting this boom mic, and 2, get my money sorted.
Be a goddamn professional, Mike. Mike, leave Mike alone.
Yeah.
So the idea that, the stats are about 9% of people stick to their New Year's resolutions, which is not a good number.
No.
So the question is, what can you do to give yourself a high probability of success? Because if you hit Jan 1 and you're motivated, if the plan is just motivation, it's just not going to last, is it?
And to be honest, I don't think I've ever been motivated on Jan 1. For me, it starts Jan 2 when I'm a little bit clearer in the head and I've got a bit more pep in my step. But again, what it comes back to is, are you making some fundamental changes, or are you putting a system in place that is going to give you the greatest chance of success, right? Not just, I want to do this. I want to be rich. When we ask people to set goals, I want to be rich. I want to retire early. I want a Ferrari. We all want those things. What are you going to do to put stuff in place to make sure you get them?
Yeah, so there's a great book called Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, definitely go and read it, which is by James Clear. And it's talking about, like Mike said, instead of focusing on the outputs, it's focusing on your environment, the systems you put in place. And if you focus on the systems and the environment, the outcomes will sort themselves out.
Yeah. So the first one that we're going to talk about here from Atomic Habits is about creating systems, right? And understanding the power of systems. So James, run us through that.
Cool. So there's 4 key laws when it comes to creating good habits. That's what systems are. We're trying to create good habits. So it's the cue. So identifying the trigger or the cue that initiates the habit. So the example might be, instead of, grabbing the bag of chips, what's the thing that triggers you going getting the bag of chips? Yeah.
Or I'm bored.
Yeah, something like that. The second one is the craving, understanding the desire or the craving associated with the habit. The next is the response, so determining the actual behavior or action. So you might have the trigger, but you're still making a decision on what you do or not.
Yep.
So the perfect example is when it comes to money, I'm with my friends at a bar at 10 p.m. Am I going to spend that money or am I not going to spend that money?
Yeah.
And the last one is reward. So recognizing the satisfaction or reward gained from completing the habit. So how do you create a good kind of cycle and build momentum where you're sticking to the right things, you're getting a reward off the back of it, and then you want to do more and more of it.
Yeah, and the reward is the interesting piece, right? Because fundamentally, when we're talking about setting goals and working towards them, it's about delayed gratification. If you are at a bar at 10 p.m. and it is humming and your mates are all there and you're like, I've hit my limit of how much I can spend, you get in a cab, you go home, do not drink and drive. the reward is not going to be when you get home. You're going to have to set yourself a reward. So when you've done this enough times and you've accumulated, some savings, then you get the reward, right? It's that delayed gratification working through the process because, I know, James, you love the Irish goodbye, the phantom, walking out of a party early, but, for some of the more social people, that can be a little bit of a difficult thing to do.
The Houdini.
Yeah.
The smoke bomb and sprint. The old, where's the bathroom around here? You just head straight out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am very good. And the other example coming back to the fitness one is the whole, in terms of one action does not give you the outcome that you want, and we're designed for instant gratification. So how do you work through and create that? It's like the going to the gym piece, right? You go to the gym, you run on the treadmill, you pump some iron. If it's Mike, he's only doing chest. He's not going anywhere near a deadlift.
You goddamn right.
Every day is International
Chest Day.
Yeah. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But you get home, right? And you look in the mirror, you haven't changed at all. There's no instant.
The chest can't get any bigger.
It's a fly. There's no instant gratification, right? But you believe that if you go over and over and over and over and over and eat the right things, you will get that reward at some point in the future.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a really important point, right? It's like when you're committed to something like, the gym, you don't see any gains for so long. There's no change in what you look like. Even as you are going up the weights, right? And it's about, being like, I trust the process. I've got the goal. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to stick to it. So I think that's a really important point, which is the third point we'll talk about here, is setting clear and specific goals.
They're talking about goals again. Here we go.
Another goal episode. And look, I'm assuming this comes out in January. Okay. Yeah. Now is the perfect time for you to make some goals. These are not New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions you come up with at 11:55 on the 31st of December. And I can probably rattle off what your New Year's resolutions will be to be about eating better, getting your money sorted, maybe buy a new car, something like that, maybe treating yourself. These are specific goals, right? So you're talking about being specific with them. Clearly define what you want to achieve. James, run me through a specific point of a goal of yours.
I want to earn $300 an hour. That could be a goal.
Okay. Now, is that measurable?
Well, we've got $300.
Yep. So you're going to determine how you'll measure your progress and succeed, right? So you can say, what am I earning now? 150. What do I want to earn in the future? 300. I've got to double this, right? So do you think that is achievable? Do you think you could ensure that this goal is realistic and you could achieve it?
Well, then if you're going from 150 to 300, right, you're going to have to have very clear actions to make sure that you can achieve those.
Yeah. So, and those actions might be, I don't know, you might be changing employment, getting a promotion, going to work for yourself, something like that. A clear action that you can take. So next piece, are the goals relevant to you?
I mean, I put a dollar figure behind it. You would have thought so.
Yeah, but really what we're talking about here is, does that align with your long-term vision, right? Is $300 something that is going to matter to you in 12 months' time, or is this just an arbitrary number that you've plucked out of thin air?
The other big thing, I mean, definitely I've just plucked out of thin air because you've just asked me. The other big thing to think about, right, is when we're planning goals, like another really common one is, I want financial freedom. And it's like, well, what the hell does financial freedom doing to you? And that example of earning $300 an hour, the next question, which I go back and forwards with people all the time, is the balance between getting that outcome, that more money, but are they willing to sacrifice potentially time with their family to be able to do that? Which then becomes towards the prioritizing the goal, and are you willing to sacrifice X to get Y?
Yeah, which is super important.
Yep.
So, everyone knows about this. They're SMART goals. We've talked you through how they work and what they are. But again, fundamentally, when we're thinking about goals, they've got to have these key points. Otherwise, it's a New Year's resolution and we're not doing that.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And that last one is the time-bound piece. So it might be, I want to do this by the end of 2024. But your goals can't be wishy-washy. They have to have like a number associated, the time period to be able to do it, very clear and measurable. And then obviously there's the question of the actions off the back of it.
And that is sometimes tough for people, and you want to know why it's tough. Because if all of those things are in place, you can fail.
Yeah.
If you don't live up to them and take those actions and you can measure it, you will fail. And humans do not like setting themselves up for failure.
That's a really big one, right? People a lot of people would prefer not to try because being scared of failure. Then the whole like aim for the stars, land on the moon mentality.
Yeah.
I love that thing. I don't even know if I ever hit one of my goals, Mike, but I know I'm a way better person for trying than just sitting at home, being scared of failure to start with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, next point, number 4, making your goals attractive. So to create motivation, you need to make your goals appealing. So if you think about the example of I want to be financially free at 55 and have a passive income of $100,000 a year, the obvious question is why?
Yeah.
Why is that important to you? The other piece is sometimes people tell me that, and then I'm like, I've known you for 3 minutes and I know you're never going to stop working. So why is financial freedom important to you opposed to going a little bit slower and having more experiences along the way? So that goal has to mean something to you opposed to just thinking it's the right thing to do or somebody else would be proud of me or whatever.
Yeah. And again, you've got to tie it back to what is it intrinsically that I'm after, right?
Yep.
And for a lot of people, when we start to really dig in the surface around why do I want to be financially free? So I can spend more time with my kids, or but it's deeper than that. Why do you want to spend more time with your kids? Is it something you missed out on? We've really got to tie it to a core value, a core need to make sure you achieve it.
Yeah, so James Clear in the book talks about connecting your goals to personal values, passions, and interests. He also talks about to visualize the benefits and rewards of achieving your goal to make it more enticing. So it's just about stacking the odds in your favor, right?
Yeah.
And how can you give yourself the highest probability of success?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we move to step number 5.
My favorite step.
Yeah, and so once again, at Lighthouse, we talk about financial literacy plus action plus time equals financial freedom. And the amount of times I do a financial plan, and they're beautiful projections, Mike, represents people can live whatever life they want to live. The future looks great. You can have the car, you can have the house, you can have the nice things in time. But projections are just projections.
Yeah.
They don't give you anything. They just make you feel good about what the future looks like.
Yeah.
You have to take action.
Yeah. And again, small, consistent steps over time is the way we achieve this, right? And we really, we represent this or explain it in a number of different ways, right? Like there's the snowball analogy, and it starts small and you just keep adding. Matthew Horncastle talked about it quite a bit when we were talking to him about his story around he just gets up every day, and it's the minute gains, right? It's the extra person that you sell. It's the 3% that you shave off some operational efficiency is the way that you achieve stuff. So again, breaking down your goals into small, manageable tasks. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And then you just keep ticking them off.
And if we have a bit of a crack at, I don't know, maybe society in general for a second, there's this, what's the silver bullet, right?
Yeah.
Like what's going to get me rich quick? And this is where the scams come out, where I'm going to get involved in crypto or NFTs, or I'm going to start a drop shipping business or whatever the fad is of the day. The reality is it's just stacking wins on top of each other, and taking the small little wins each day is like, I talk to my team about this and a lot of people about how do you go from having, I don't know, one day you're a 10, the next day you're a 2, the next day you're 10. How can you consistently deliver like 8 out of 10 days? Because just like compounding returns in terms of the share market, you're stacking wins on wins on wins, which gets you to a bigger place to make, bigger actions going forward.
So, okay, we've done the goal setting. We've made the goals attractive. We've looked at the small, consistent steps we could take, the actions that we're going to tick off, the day-to-day stuff of how we're going to get there. We've got to make sure we're rewarding ourselves, right? Otherwise, all of this amounts to nothing. You cannot keep going through this forever if there's no carrot at the end.
Yeah. So the next part is the rewarding yourself. The question is, how do you design immediate and satisfying rewards for accomplishing your goals? So sometimes this isn't about like the big end product, like I'm going to resign from my job and be retired, or I'm going to move into the big house. It's funny, since we've done the episode on why you shouldn't have a batch, I've had quite a few people gone like, I've seen that, screw you. But like, if you're in a financial position where like a holiday home is something that you want, or I've had another couple where maybe they want to, they're deciding whether they want to live in like the Mount or Wanaka or Queenstown long term, or maybe the shore. Why you would want to live on a shore, no idea. Can't get over it when it blows a small breeze. But an action for that one that I've spoken to them about is why don't you spend a long weekend in each of those locations so it becomes more real. You can imagine what your life looks like, and opposed to just some written goals on paper, it brings it to life.
Yeah, and then everyone moves to the North Shore because it's beautiful, right? But again, you got to celebrate your progress, the achievements along the way. It's something that is going to keep you on track and can be a little bit difficult to tie it to. And if your long-term goal is I want to be financially free at 55 and you're 20, you're going to have some stuff that kind of keeps you on track on the way there.
Yeah. It's just coming back to that, like the monkeys we are, our brains are designed for instant gratification, that dopamine hit, and you have to have some wins along the way that kind of that trigger, so you want to keep going and going and going, where especially in the market we're in at the moment, right? Like people are doing phenomenal things, but they're not seeing a reward on their time, but they have this belief that it's the right thing, and you have to have that, I need to keep going in the direction that I'm going.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. The other big one is the importance of tracking and accountability. I mean, pretty much James Clear has written a financial planning book. So you need to be able to regularly monitor your progress and track your habits. So instead of just focusing on the output, there needs to be focusing on what are the daily things that I'm going to do. So an example, coming back to the gym, maybe you're tracking your calories in MyFitnessPal. Maybe you're going, have I done my 5 gym sessions a week?
Yeah. And again, the accountability piece is a big one. And if you just have the goals, even if you do the stuff around setting smart goals and, making sure that you give yourself the best chance of success there, you will be infinitely more likely to succeed in these goals if you tell someone, have a check-in with them and have them hold you accountable, right? We talk about this a lot in our webinars where we go out and speak to businesses and people around, I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but it's something like 74% of people achieve their goals if they have someone holding them accountable, versus I think it's like 20% or something if they just think about it.
I love how you're like, I can't remember the stat,
but
you gave a super specific stat.
As I was saying that, I was like, actually, no, I think I can. Yeah. And Ravi will probably bring something up and that'll prove me wrong. But
yeah, that would actually be great, Ravi. Bonus coming your way for Christmas if you can.
Thanks, mate.
If you can work that out. But you do need to be able to track yourself. You need to be able to use tools and work out what those processes are. So like for a financial plan, for example, we are doing the 6 monthly, quarterly, annual reviews. These are the things you said you would do. Have you gone and done them?
Yeah.
And some people are definitely like, James is going to tell us off when we go and do this because we know we haven't done it. The main reason I go see a nutritionist once a month, and when that meeting is getting closer, I either have a good feeling or like, I'm not looking forward to this at all, and I'll come with like my head down when I go talk to them.
Yeah. The accountability piece is absolutely huge.
Yeah. And the other bit is the accountability with a person, right? So you got to be able to, whether that's me telling Mike, working with a financial advisor, if we're talking in the health space, working with a personal trainer, whatever it might look like. Mike, before we wrap it up, I just want to talk about the environment as well. Is probably something that's, I know, very, very big in the Atomic Habits book.
Yeah.
With
like no plastic straws, reusable.
Yeah. Just the paper straw just, evaporate straight into the drink
because they disintegrate in my ice mockers in the morning, by the way.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. The thing with when it comes to environment is if you hang around people and they're, giving you a hard time for trying to be a better person, or they're trying to pull you down, or they're not people who are looking to grow yourself, it's very hard to achieve the things that you want to achieve in that environment, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, but that's the thing, right? You are the average of your 5 best friends, right? The people you spend most of your time with. And if the environment isn't right, you got to realize, you got to recognize, you got to change.
Yeah. So you need to be thinking about that environment you're in. The other thing we talk about, which perfectly like say an emergency fund, right? You need to know who you are, what you're like, and whether you need to create systems to save yourself from yourself. So I know you talk about with an emergency fund, right? Should you have it with the same bank or should it be sitting with a different bank?
Yeah. And you've got to recognize what the issues are and then put steps in place to try and fix it and correct it. And with your environment, that could be a little bit harder because you love the people you're around most of the time. But yeah, you've got to realize if it's the wrong environment, you've got to make that change.
Yeah. So there are tips from Atomic Habits on how you can give yourself a much higher probability of success for 2024. Do not be like everybody else and just go, I'm just going to do these things, give it a crack, and by the 15th of Jan, I'm going to run a scheme. Mike, let me ask you, how are you feeling about 2024?
Very bullish on 2024 on a number of kind of different factors, but yeah, it's going to be a goodie.
Yeah. So, I mean, and just like in terms of the podcast as well, we should probably say thank you to everybody who does watch the podcast. We've got some super exciting things happening next year. We're rolling out a sponsor next year for the podcast, which is really exciting to find somebody to align with. We're really looking at our guests, how we can grow our podcast so we can help as many people as possible achieve their goals. Now, if you're thinking, all of that stuff sounds great, how can we help the listener to achieve those goals? Well, you could subscribe, you could review, you could give us a like, share it with a friend.
Leave us a comment.
And let's go after 2024. Let's set those goals and knock them out of the park. I'm pumped. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers.